So here I am, I've arrived in Salzburg. I'm staying at the pension Bergfried, which is actually just on the outskirts of Salzburg. I decided to stay here because it's a lot cheaper than staying in the middle of the city. There's a really handy bus service which runs from the town of Grodig, where I'm staying, into Salzburg. It only costs about €5 to get into town. It's nice and handy. Pension Bergfried is great, it's relatively cheap. The breakfasts in the morning, which are included in the price, are awesome, but probably the best bit is the fact that when I booked the accommodation, they offered me secure parking in their garage. Fantastic. Oh, good morning. The sun is shining still this morning, the rain has held off. It's a lot cooler, which is fantastic, as this morning I'm planning to do a climb up to the Berghof, or Eagle's Nest. I've parked my bike down at the bottom of the car park where the document centre is, where I was yesterday. The bus, I found out yesterday, is €30, so if you don't fancy a climb up the 4 hours that it is supposed to take, then pay your €30, but I need some exercise this morning, so I'm heading on up there and I will catch you at the top. I've made it nearly to the top, not too exhausted. It took just over 2 hours when it was a recommended 4 hours. Steady pace, 1 in 5 gradient probably, but it's a beautiful walk with fantastic mountain views all the way up. So I've now got to the part where the buses park, and the last little bit up to the Berghof is either going to be a walk, or I believe you can go through the tunnel to my left and then take an elevator right up to the top. I'm off to investigate. So I couldn't find anywhere that was selling tickets to get the elevator to the top, and I didn't want to be cheeky and jump on the back of a bus tour. I might get into trouble for that. So I've decided to take the now 10-minute walk up to the top. On a sunny day, this is the view. Unfortunately, this is our view today. On the way down, I managed to sneak into the elevator. Way down's a bit easier. So strictly speaking, where I've just visited was the sun terraces and tea rooms for entertaining and impressing the Axis forces grandees. The real Berghof, Hitler's mountain home, was very near the document centre and was destroyed by Royal Air Force bombers in April 1945. I'm heading to Hallstatt in the rain. Well, I've just arrived at Hallstatt, about to catch the funicular railway up to the salt mine at the top. Parking was absolutely crazy, very difficult to find parking. Did manage to find some motorcycle parking at the last second. I'll tell you more about it later. I'm off to catch the railway now. The salt mine starts with a walk-in, wearing the provided coveralls. Very glamorous. You descend deeper into the mine by a series of wooden slides, which is great fun. You ride out of the mine on an open paddy train. This is the view from the skywalk at Hallstatt, and there's the lake and the town below. So I'm here in the beautiful town of Hallstatt, which is a UNESCO heritage site. I rode about an hour and 15 minutes from Salzburg to get here, and I parked up just before 9 o'clock. I highly recommend getting here as early as you can because it's a very popular place to visit and the car parking gets incredibly busy. So I arrived about just before 9, found a motorbike spot to park and caught the vernacular railway, which starts at 9 o'clock, up to the top of the mountain, where I then had a 90-minute visit to the salt mine, which is definitely worth a visit. I highly recommend. Very fascinating tour and great fun. Parking in Hallstatt is a bit of a nightmare as it is so busy. First of all, I tried to park underneath the vernacular railway. There's parking which is P2. When I turned up, it was motorcycles prohibited. Parking P1, which is behind me, also is prohibited for motorcycles. However, there is a sneaky little motorbike parking spot which is pretty hidden, and it's behind the servo behind me here. So if you take a right turn just before you get to the servo coming into town, there is a spot for motorcycles which is free. Well, this morning I'm leaving Salzburg and heading up the hills, the Austrian Alps, towards Zell am See, and then finishing off in a small town called Krimmel. No idea what it's like. The idea was to do some twisty-turny mountain roads today and tomorrow. Unfortunately, the weather forecast is against me today. It looks like, although it's clearing up in Salzburg, where I'm headed, it's forecast for pouring rain, thunderstorms and possibly hail. Great. Anyway, I'm well equipped. I've got my Scott waterproof jacket, waterproof trousers. I'm ready to go. Well, I've stopped at the stunning town of Zell am See. It's absolutely beautiful, even if it's raining, but the parking is very difficult. It's very busy and I can't find anywhere to stop, so I'm moving on and finding somewhere else for lunch. So I've arrived here in the town of Krimmel, which is a small Austrian ski town in the Tyrol region. I'm staying at the guest house Graber Krimmel, which is a beautiful little guest house nestled in the mountains here. There is a beautiful waterfall. In fact, it's the largest waterfall in Europe. I realised it was in this area, but I didn't realise how close it was. It's literally walking distance from my guest house. So I'll be exploring that one a little bit later on. There is a bit of a noisy helicopter in the background here as well. I think he's probably doing some maybe rescue training up in the hills, or maybe collecting the wood that has been felled in the region. So a short walk, 30 minutes from my accommodation, along the forest trail and following the river has brought me here to the base of the waterfall. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm going to head off and explore further up. So here I am again at the waterfall. This particular spot is known for its therapeutic remedies, particularly people who suffer from asthma. So apparently you can follow a course of 14 days to 3 weeks, come here for an hour a day, breathe in the very fine mist from the waterfall, and it's supposed to have healing properties. It's really wet though now, so I think I'm going to move on. So here it is, Europe's tallest waterfall. I'm getting pretty wet here. I'm not sure if it's the spray or the rain or both, but it's worth the climb. It's absolutely stunning. So this morning I'm leaving Krimmel and going to be following the road towards the Gerloss Alpine Pass. Hopefully get a few twisty turnies in. Then moving on to Zell am Zimmer, I believe there's a cool toboggan ride there, so I might give that a go. And then finishing off the day towards Innsbruck. I'm not actually going to be staying in Innsbruck. I found a little place just on the outskirts. See you later. It's worth stopping every now and again so you can appreciate the views. Here I am at the start of the Gerloss Alpine Pass. It's a toll road, so you have to pay €8.50 for a motorcycle. After the toboggan ride, I headed off to my accommodation near Innsbruck, a small ski resort called Tulfs. So today I had a fantastic morning. I started off by doing the Gerloss Pass, which was a beautiful mountain road, lots of twisty turnies, which were a little bit challenging at times. There was quite a few slow cars, so I recommend starting off a little bit earlier in the day than I did. The other thing to look out for is there are quite a few drain covers on the road, which makes doing cornering quite tricky, and I think particularly would be hazardous when it's raining. Luckily it was dry for me today, so I just had to keep an eye out for them really, but all was good. I then carried on to Zell and Zimmer. They had a really cool toboggan ride there, so I had a go at that. And I'm now riding a cable car in my destination for tonight, which is just outside Innsbruck in a little ski town called Tulfs. I'm looking forward to getting right to the top of this mountain and having a bit of a wander around. What a fantastic view from the top of the cable car. You know, a few kilometres outside of Innsbruck, and I felt like I'd run over something with my back tyre, pulled over, and sure enough my tyre had gone flat pretty quickly. Out of my repair kit I've taken out my reamer, I've located the hole, I've got to push this in and clean out the hole. Next I've taken my T-bar, I've got my plug which I've inserted into the eye, a bit like threading a thread through a needle. Here are my plugs here, and I'll also be using my glue, which I'll put some on the leading edge of the T-bar and some into the hole in order to plug the hole. It's a DIY job. It will just get me to the next town where I'll seek out a handy garage to check it out to make sure it's safe to carry on my journey. If you are interested in learning more about how to conduct an emergency tyre repair, check out my other video. I've arrived at the Silvretta Pass. The entrance to it is just behind me. Much later than I anticipated today due to a puncture earlier on, but never mind, I'm here now. Can't wait to do a few twisty turnies. I'm not sure how much it costs, it might even be free at this time of day. I'll let you know later. This is unbelievable. It's a fantastic mountain pass, but there's also some classic cars having time trials, which is awesome to watch. Well, cheers. I think I've earned this glass of wine tonight. It's been an eventful day. I got up this morning with the intention of riding the Silvretta Pass, which I've been looking forward to all holiday. Unfortunately, my day went a little bit pear-shaped, starting off this morning by getting a puncture about 5 kilometres outside of Innsbruck. So it took me the best part of the morning to get that sorted. I spent some time on the side of the road fixing the hole in the tyre. pumping it up, just enough to limp it to the nearest service station, which was just on the outskirts of Innsbruck, so luckily it wasn't too far away. So I was able to pump up my tyre properly, grab a cup of coffee and just hang around for a bit to make sure that the tyre held its air, which it did, thankfully. So I then headed off to the Silvretta Pass. Being a bit blonde today, worrying about my tyre, I took a few wrong turns, ended up going through a long tunnel on the way to Füssen, so completely the wrong direction, but I ended up travelling a really nice mountain pass called Fern Pass, so it wasn't all bad. But eventually I found my way back and got myself up to the start of the Silvretta Pass. I spent I think it ended up being 16 euros to ride the pass, the mountain road. You can obviously do it as many times as you'd like, but being so late in the day, I only managed to do it once. But it was a fantastic ride, 34 hairpin bends, which were crazy. There were lots of cars and motorbikes on the road, but it made it all the more interesting because there was a classic car time trial running at the same time that I was there, so it was great to see so many old cars. So really fantastic experience, beautiful scenery, fantastic riding, and I'm now sitting having my glass of wine just in a little guest house near the Bodensee. Tomorrow it's going to be a long drive heading back home, so I've got about a 6-hour drive to Metz tomorrow. I'll catch you then. So today I started bright and early from my accommodation in Bregenz near the Bodensee, and had about a 6-hour drive today to get to my final destination here in the beautiful medieval city of Metz in France. Well, here I am on the other side of the tunnel. I've just finished my 2 weeks in Germany and Austria. Back to some lovely English weather now. But I really hope you enjoyed the videos that I've made and found them interesting, and I look forward to sharing more adventures with you later.